Oh, Ms. Poe, can you make sure I have access so I can share my screen?
Done.
Okay.
All right, good afternoon. Welcome to David T. Howard's Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda as planned. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the David T. Howard Go Team to order at 4:33. Our first order of business is roll call. Ms. Baker will call the roll.
All right. Dr. Maxwell.
Hello. Thank you.
Mr. Abernathy.
Present.
I am present. Wendy Baker is present. Tanisha Poe.
Present.
Chelsea Schultz.
I'm here. Hey, everybody.
Jennifer Keenan.
Hello.
Angela Lewis. Janine Walker. Mr. Carmichael. And Mr. Jones.
Here.
Thank you.
I saw Ms. Walker connect. I'm not sure if she's on audio yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I did see Ms. Walker.
This team will only be able to make an official action if a quorum is present. Ms. Baker, do we have a quorum?
I believe we do, sir. Yes.
All right. Next order of business is to approve the current agenda. It was provided to you last week as well as right now. Are there any changes to the current agenda?
I do not have any changes.
All right, if there are no changes, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
That was Schultz. I just said
Okay.
motion to approve.
Schultz,
Thank you.
do I have a second?
This is Vincent, second.
Been properly moved by Ms. Schultz, seconded by Mr. Jones. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion to approve the agenda has passed.
I didn't say aye because my mute was on, sorry. But it's Angie.
Okay,
Oh, Angie's here. Okay, great.
Okay.
because you just popped in. All right. So I think the only person missing is Curtis. All right, next up, action item is to approve the previous minutes. Do you have those, Dr. Maxwell?
Yeah, I do. I don't know if you want me to, I'll display those. Let's see. Minutes. And
These are the current minutes that I'm working on. I think you need the.
oh, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
I was like, wow, it started the exact same time. That's weird.
I was thinking it's December 14th. Okay, this is it. All right, November 9th. And I just want to say, as we're looking at these minutes, because I know we're supposed to look at these before, that Ms. Baker, you did an excellent job with the minutes. We have already made a comment. Actually, Ms. Keenan and Coach Abernathy and I spoke like a week before because we had to create an agenda. So thank you, Ms. Baker, for these minutes. They're excellent.
You're welcome.
So I'm just going to scroll through because I know that we were supposed to look at these before.
Yeah, I did send them out
Yeah.
a week or two ago.
They were great, Miss Baker. We didn't comment about those in the meeting. All right, are there any adjustments or changes to the previous minutes? All right, do I have a motion to approve the previous minutes?
This is Tanisha Poe. I motion to approve the previous minutes.
Do I have a second?
I
Janine
second.
Walker, I second.
Who was that?
Ms. Walker.
Ms. Walker.
Okay. Been properly moved by Ms. Poe, seconded by Ms. Walker. All in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? All right, motion for the previous minutes has passed. Next, we'll move on to discussion items. First item on the agenda is the phase 2 reopening model.
Okay, so I will discuss the reopening model. This is going to be part of the discussion. And I just want to show you this so that we have it. But as you see the 2021. So you go in the DT Howard Go team 2021. And I think last time, I think it might have been Miss Walker, but I mean, I think everyone understood that, you know, if we're going to present something, we're going to have those resources before. And so I did create a resource folder. And if you click on the resource folder, and then I have the date 12/14. And so if we have some more resources that we need to discuss in the January meeting, then I will, you know, create a date for January and put those resources in this folder. And so the reopening plan is something that we've talked about a couple different places. This is the PowerPoint that we used for the lunch and learn. And so we can just kind of go over this. I'll go over some slides a little bit quicker than others, but I'll stop and pause for any changes or any tweaks, which I don't think that we have, and I can put it in present mode. Oh, there we go. And so phase 2, so key considerations, safety. So obviously there's the rise in COVID-19 cases that's still happening. I think we spoke about that in lunch and learn, and we're speaking about this now. You know, obviously everybody I'm sure saw today with vaccines that are happening, but that's going to be vaccines that we're going to be getting over the next few months. You know, for the United States and for Georgia, but so just so glad to see that we're starting to work on those vaccines and getting those vaccines or those immunizations even today for some people, for our healthcare workers especially. And so
I actually saw that teachers are considered part of the first wave. So we're like wave 1B.
Right. Yeah. I mean, definitely, Miss Baker. And what'll be interesting too is when we see the new president inaugurated on January 20th, because I mean, I think he's the one that's really touted that also, is for the teachers and to bring students back into the building quickly. And so it'll be very interesting, I think, to see who the Secretary of Education will be, and then what will happen, you know, January 20th. And so Miss Baker brings up a good point, and I'm even thinking about, like, I think we're all looking at you know, what's going to happen after that with you know, one of his 3 focuses is for students to get back into school. And so we obviously got feedback through this phase 2, and we are actually also listening to the district about the phase 2 reopening. And right now, and I did not update that. So the parent declaration of intent process ends on December 21st. We actually have 32% right now that are face-to-face, that they have, the parents have intended the students to go face-to-face, more in 6th grade, and then 8th grade, and then 7th is, but all of them are over 100. And so I could give those exact numbers to Miss Baker so she can put that in her notes. And so I will do that afterwards, but I don't want to, I'd have to go to another screen, but it's at 32% right now. And so the staffing and telework guidelines have changed. And so they have been tighter on who will, what staff will be able to telework, including, you know, I think before, the district had okayed for like childcare if there's childcare issues, but now in January, or in the second phase, I guess February the 1st, when the kids come back, that's not something where a staff member could telework. And so definitely tighter on that. And so we don't have the exact numbers because the staff are still requesting, but we should have those numbers by January the 4th. Instructional models are still the same: site-based, virtual, face-to-face, and AVA. And I will say that, just want to pause because I've had some questions, but redundancy is always good. And that is that if you're a parent and you're not intending to change, then you do not have to do anything with the declaration of intent. Like, for instance, my son is going site-based virtual, and so I'm not changing that. And so then I do not have to do another intent to return. So if you want the same thing, then you do not have to redo that form. So some important dates. So the first teacher day is January the 4th. And that's when we're going to talk about, as far as the staff, that we're really going to hit hard on what that phase 2 looks like, what we're going to do, and get into more details. Also, the teacher day, we will, but we'll talk about the reopening plan. Will be a main part of that day. January 5th through the 8th and 11th through the 15th, there will be no change. So sometimes that's some confusion because much of the district they started with this asynchronous Wednesday in December, and we'll continue with that. We will continue with asynchronous classes through January the 15th. Now, something that is different, and I always like to tell my staff first, and if I could get on GroupMe right now, I would. But because I had just forgotten about this and I looked at it, and it's not a huge deal. But again, I always want to contact my staff first, is because January 5th is a runoff election. They want to close, APS wants to close virtual school early so staff would be able to vote. And correct me if I'm wrong, administrators who are on there. I know Ms. Beatles probably knows those times, but I think 8th grade will end at 11:30. I'm sorry, elementary will end at 11:30. High school will end at 12, and middle school will end at 12:30. And so, is that correct, Ms. Beatles? Okay. And so the staff might have already received that through the district, but I always like to tell the staff through GroupMe. And so that will happen on the 5th, basically an asynchronous day from 12:30 to 3:30. And so just wanted to let the community know about that. MLK Day will be on January the 18th, and on January 19th, the teachers will have the first official in-person report day. So if the teacher did not get approved for telework, then they would start on the 19th teaching virtually from school. Many people have already done that. Ms. Baker is one of the teachers that has taught virtually already from the school. And so that will start on the 19th. It's a way to get back into the swing of things, the 9 o'clock to 3:30 and getting into the school. And the staff that has, and we'll talk about the TIP program a little bit later, but the staff that has gone in on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and done that, I mean, you were tired those 2 days. I heard from the staff because, you know, it's just a different way of, you know, working and working in school as opposed to working at home. And so anyway, it gets them away, the teachers, the staff, not just teachers, to acclimate to going back into school. So that will happen for a couple of weeks. We will have our first asynchronous Wednesday on January the 20th. And so the 19th will start the first official day to go back into school, the staff, I shouldn't say teachers, but staff, and then the asynchronous Wednesday on the 20th, the 21st and 22nd. Then the staff will continue to come in virtually. Teachers will teach virtually. And then on January 25th, our low incidence classes will start, the 25th and 26th and 28th and 29th. So that would be Miss Littman's class and Miss Ushery's class. And the other teachers will continue to teach virtually that week. And then the 27th would be that asynchronous Wednesday. And then kind of continue, again, January 25th, the special education, those are the low incidence students who will return face-to-face. Asynchronous Wednesday on January 27th. And then February 1st, the 6th grade students will return face-to-face. Those are those students who, where the parents have chosen for them to go back to face-to-face. And I think that's about, if I remember, about 146 students, but I'll give you the exact number. And then they will start on the 1st and 2nd. If they're a 6th grade student and they have chosen virtually, they will continue virtually. And then on the 4th, the 7th and 8th grade students who have, the parents who have chosen face-to-face, they will start on the 4th and 5th. And just to pause here and just to make sure, those 6th grade students would continue on the 3rd and 4th. And so it just would grow. 6th graders start on the 1st, then on the 4th, it would be 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. And then the next week, it would continue with those 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. It would be traditional school hours from 9:05 to 4:05, but we would continue with that virtual school model. That's one of the reasons why we had we increased those minutes in the core classes. We would still have the office hours at the end of the day. If they were in school, we would, you know, work on kind of office hours in school and provide some work for them as needed. And so I know the big question also, and I've heard from some parents, which my plan is to get out a written form of what that would look like a day in the life, but they would have, they, as in the students that are face-to-face, would have very little transitions. And so I know there was conversation in the APS meeting on the Facebook meeting with the parents, with Dr. Herring, is the simultaneous learning would more look like from an elementary standpoint, because the elementary has one teacher, those kids usually have one teacher, and that they could do simultaneous learning. For middle school, and I've talked to Dr. Bachman, in high school, it's a secondary model where we have 5 classes if you add a day, because connections is every other day. If you take advisory, it would be 6. And in high school, it's 4. And so they're going to have in high school very little transitions also. So it would be more pod learning. Now we do have to take in the case of connections. And so that's something that, you know, I'll be talking with different groups, including the connections teachers, as far as what that looks like. And so I will send out to the community by the end of the week, because I know we have to the 21st. And remember, just because you make a decision, and say you make a decision to for your child to go face-to-face, but then I give some more information to you by the 18th, the 17th or 18th, you can change it all the way up to the 21st. After the 21st, you cannot change it. You can't change from virtual to face-to-face. Now, I will say that if you go face-to-face on, you decide face-to-face, but it doesn't work out when your child comes back on February 1st or February 4th, then you can go back to virtual. But it will be just very little transitions, because we just can't have 6 transitions in a day, but we plan to have at least 1 or 2 transitions, but again, it'll be more of a pod learning by a pod mode.
So will they be on their laptops with a teacher on their laptop with just a moderator in the classroom with them?
Yeah, just a supervisor in the classroom. Okay. Okay, schools with 60% or greater return in person will have the flexibility to modify. So it could be hybrid. We're at 32%, but if we would get over 60%, then that model would change. And so I don't anticipate 60% by December 21st, but just definitely want to at least bring up that slide. There will be a summer academic recovery. I think it's actually going to start in the spring, but definitely during the weeks in June. The area of focus is going to be on literacy and math. We'll have more information about that, I'm sure, as we hit January and February of the next calendar year. Again, just talking about asynchronous days on Wednesdays. Students will have independent practice, staff will have professional learning and intervention, and the district will work on meal delivery, but there'll be deep cleaning of David T. Howard, and there will be some COVID testing. And so that is going to happen. And what that's going to look like, we will know more in January. And that is it for the phase 2 reopening plan. Any other questions about that?
Dr. Maxwell, I know there was a question during the lunch and learn about whether there'll be one more period where parents can opt for face-to-face.
Yeah, that is a question. Yeah, no, that's a great question. This is for, there'll be one more for the 4th quarter. There will be one more for the 4th quarter, the last 9 weeks. One more intent to return.
And do you know the date the 4th quarter starts?
I'm going to have my administrators help me with that. I think it's the middle of March, but I don't know the exact date. Miss Beatles or Miss Allen or Dr. Harper. I mean,
March 22nd.
March 22nd. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, then Coach Abernathy, can I go on to the strategic plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are going to present on the strategic plan, the administrative team, and I am going to actually, so it's going to be Miss Allen, Miss Antone, Miss Beatles, Dr. Harper, and myself for the David T. Howard strategic plan. We're just going to have a conversation around that. A lot of times, like I said, we have that in the fall. I'm going to put it in present mode, but I am going to show you a couple different documents, and then we will, then I'll hit present mode. So we do have a 2020 through 2025 APS strategic plan. We had one in 2015 to 2020. Some of you might have been a part of that. I wasn't at the part of that at the beginning because I came on board in 2017. And so it's a document that I think every Go team member should look at and know and see. Very excited about some parts of it. And so I just want to go over it. I mean, and quickly, but just to highlight a couple of pieces of it. And so the first part of this is there is a review, and I'm going to stop on a few of these. Okay, so the mission. So the mission of the district is very similar, but it has the word equity in it, and it has the word life. So through a caring culture of equity, trust, and collaboration, every student will graduate ready for college, career, and life. So I'm not going to read to you for the most part, but just want to make sure you knew the change in the mission. Vision stayed the same, the guiding principles, the core values. They also looked at the profile of a graduate and what that looks like, which I think we're a college and career ready cluster. And so we definitely want to look at that. And I think we have in the past about that, but that should drive us also. It also talks about just data for APS, but just to look at what our population, ethnic population, African-American, Caucasian, Hispanic, and just to say what that looks like for us is like our Caucasian population at David T. Howard's 54%. African-American is 33 to 35%. And so, you know, a little different population than what the population is for the district. Student qualified for free and reduced lunch is around 75%. For us, it's about 25%. And so again, just giving you some numbers here. The primary areas of focus is something I want to pause on. What the graduation rate looks like. And they break it down. And as you can see this, they've really focused on equity. So just because we have a graduation rate of a certain percentage, I think they're showing that it's different for white students, Latino students, Black students, students with a disability. You can see they're focusing on the 76, and you'll see with their priorities, 8th grade at APS, 76% of our students in 8th grade are not proficient or above in math, right? And that goes directly because we are, you know, that's one of our grade levels. And so again, this is what they're focusing. They look at ELA, 58%, almost 59%, the percent are ELA are proficient above an ELA in grades 3 through 8. So again, we're 6, 7, and 8. So 58.8% are proficient and above, but they looked at the achievement gap. White students are at 84.1% and Black students are at 25.3%. And as you will look at this, and again, the next slide is all about equity. We had an equity policy 2 years ago. We have a chief equity officer in Miss Tahita Baker-Jones. And I think the next one's 11 commitments. Yes. And so she has talked about these 11 commitments. And I'd love to dive deeper into that and show you at Inman and Howard, like some things that we have done that have already helped with this commitment. And again, we have a huge agenda, including our strategic plan, but definitely we'll go down that road. Theory of action, which hasn't changed. And then our strategic goals. And you can see, you saw those numbers. It's increase percentage and close the gaps of students proficient in ELA. Increase percentage and close gaps of 8th grade students proficient or above in math. Also looking at the SAT and ACT and student graduation rate. So our strategic priorities, now we're going to get into what we're going to talk about with our strategic plan. And for the people that knew our priorities last time, they're similar. So number 1 says we are fostering academic excellence for all. We used to say lead academics, and now it's changed. And the admin team has talked about, we really like the sentence, writing the sentence out instead of just 1 or 2 words. Instead of culture, it is we are building a culture of student support. 3, it used to be talent management. Now the sentence is we are equipping and empowering leaders and staff. 4 used to be operations, and now it is we are creating a system of support for schools. And then it goes into the district priorities and strategies. And so that's where I'm going to stop, go back to the slide and show you that we have a strategic plan that we're going to go over, but we're not going to go over it in this way because we have these slides that look a little better than that, and we can break it down. So right now our mission, and this is not complete because we're going to give this back to the Culture and Climate Committee. Dr. Harper and Miss Antone, they were in charge of the Culture and Climate Committee. And so Dr. Harper really worked on this with them. They worked out a mission. Then we brought it to the expanded leadership team. We are giving this, we're showing this to you. It's not the final product, but then we're going to give it back to the Culture and Climate Committee. But the DTH mission, we've kind of landed on this, at least using some of these words. But again, I'll read this. Through an inclusive culture of equity, collaboration, and excellence, all students will be empowered to be innovators and responsive leaders. And so we will also work on a vision statement, and we'll bring that to you hopefully in January. And so I'm going to go on, and then we can come back to this, and if you want to have any discussion around that, and we can. But let me present. Let me make sure. Let's see what's next. Okay, so school priorities. So I'm going to hit present mode here. And then Miss Antone or Miss Allen can talk about the fostering academic excellence for all.
Mr. Dr. Maxwell,
Yeah.
before we move on, is there going to be an opportunity for the Go team and the larger community to give input on the mission statement and the vision statement?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we want the Go team. Are you saying for the community also? Is that something, a suggestion?
Right. So,
Okay.
Correct. Because I just feel like, how can we kind of fold in our parents and people that are in the large community that's also part of the school?
Yeah. That's something that we can definitely do. And so I will, obviously it's a little bit different in the environment that we're in now virtually, but sometimes that's easier and sometimes it's harder, but I think we can definitely get feedback. And so I will, I'll work on that to make that happen. That's a good suggestion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So Miss Antone or Miss Allen?
If you can, yeah, there you go. Good afternoon, everyone. And so I will go over the first part of our strategic plan, where we're looking at our school priorities, which are, we are fostering academic excellence for all. And one of our school priorities is to ensure students who need additional time and support to demonstrate mastery on essential standards are afforded additional time, support, and resources. And so when we look at this particular school priority, we have developed strategies that we implement to make sure that we are meeting that priority. One of the strategies that we are implementing is to implement weekly collaborative team meetings to set proficiency levels for student learning and to collectively study essential standards and learning targets. And this is the work of teachers who teach the same content by grade level, who come together weekly in these meetings to make sure that these things are taking place. Student achievement data, like common formative assessments and summative data, such as unit assessments, frequently in all content areas to reteach and extend to where learning has occurred for the essential standards that the teachers are using to plan with in those collaborative meetings. We also align content by collaboration through vertical and horizontal team sessions. So our collaborative team meetings from the first bullet are our horizontal team sessions, and our vertical sessions are when all of our 6th through 8th grade teachers and connections teachers meet, so that we're also planning vertically. And on the last bullet, implement consistent research-based interventions and enrichment opportunities for learners during our proficiency and beyond / advisory period, which we call P&B. And I think we talked about this in the last meeting in terms of what we were with kids who needed assistance with areas of deficiencies, but also during that time, we have extension groups where they are also being able to extend and looking at college and career readiness.
And so I think this is a good time too, because I think Miss Allen has taken the second part. So, if there are any questions that we can pause. And then the other, I think the thing to say is, just because we have these priorities and strategies, it doesn't mean those are not all of our priorities and strategies that are on here, right? Because we obviously have other strategies and ways to help with these priorities. And I just want to say that but this is definitely the ones that we want to highlight for academics, for culture, for that talent management, and for the operations. But does anybody have any questions for the first part of academic excellence?
Dr. Maxwell, this is Jennifer. I have a question, and I don't know if it's covered maybe in the next part. But is there a bullet for the gifted program, challenge students, ways to ensure their academic excellence as well?
Let's go to the second one and then we can talk about it, okay? Because I don't know if that's going to answer. I think the proficiency and beyond, the enrichment answers that question too, is because again, we haven't done. We need to do a better job, and I think we'll do even a better job once we get into school. We have a lot of ideas that we can do to enrich students that we can't do virtually. But let's look at this, and then let's see if that answers your question. But if not, it sounds like that would be a suggestion of yours to look at that. So Miss Allen, and then Miss Allen, you can obviously work on part 2 and then answer that question any differently than I did also.
Okay, so for part 2, we have 2 more priorities, but we did put these on the same slide. One, we are providing college and career access and real world experiences for students. And I guess that would be number 2. And number 3 is increase access to more rigorous coursework for historically disadvantaged student populations. So our strategies for that, in 6th grade, we're providing transition to middle school events to support the academic success. So the boot camp, new to Howard transition activities. We are organizing college and career opportunities during that proficiency and beyond, a part of the extension, because we do intervention and extension during that time. A part of the extensions is that we do college and career lessons during that time. And so we also have a college and career week in 8th grade. Obviously did not happen this year, but we do PSAT for all 8th graders. For that, priority number 3 on that list, we're increasing the rigor through the implementation of APS definitions of teacher excellence in all core content areas. The APS definitions of teaching excellence, which we do call the DTEs, it is as you can see, I'm sorry about that. It is, trying to think of it's a document. It's a framework is what I would call it, that the district created for the teachers. And it's pretty broad. It goes into what the culture that teachers should do in a classroom, those classroom management skills. It goes into what type of strategies they should bring into the classroom. And so we're trying to increase the rigor by making sure that our teachers are fully aware of the district expectation and what that looks like. The other thing that we're doing for that priority number 3 is reviewing the eligibility criteria for rigorous coursework through a lens of equity. And so those are our strategies. Any questions? And then I guess depending if there are questions here, then I'll go back and answer the other question.
I have a couple questions. So when we're talking about the part 1 and part 2, does that align in the academic programming, or what used to be the academic programming for the strategic plan? Or am I just reading the
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so my other question is, and I have to dig into this a little deeper, so I'm sure I'll have follow-up questions, but how is it that we're increasing rigor, but we want to make things equitable, and we're not, or are we thinking about how to uplift the kids that are not even at the basic standard level? How are we bringing them up? But because it looks like we're focusing a lot on rigor and making things rigorous for kids, but for kids who already are struggling, they can't even be presented with any more rigor than they already are. We have to try to figure out a way to bring that up.
Okay. So I almost feel like I see, I do see what you're saying there. And I maybe would like to clarify that if we start with increasing access to this rigorous coursework, right? So we're talking about gifted classes, advanced classes, or accelerated classes, right? That list of things there, what we're talking about, where are the kids at that can do the work right now, right? And they are students of color right now, but through the criteria that's set, it is not set up such that they could show and demonstrate their ability. And so we are looking at that criteria to make sure that those children are not being overlooked and can get access to that coursework. But then separately, right, we want to make sure that our students are ready for the Ivy Leagues that they want to go to, or as we say, college, career, or life, right? And so we don't water down our curriculum, and we want to make sure that our teachers know what that looks like, but that is done through fostering, care, kindness, SEL, right? So it's not in isolation that we do this work to make sure that students stay. And we're very careful to understand the difference between difficult, right? There are things that are just difficult. Giving kids a math problem with a lot of fractions, that's just difficult for no reason. But what we're talking about here is complexity, and we're talking about critical thinking and deeper learning, really, like students really having skills to analyze and to communicate using those 5 C's from the cluster. So hopefully that provides a little bit of clarity there.
And I think the other part of it too is in the part one. I know, Ms. Walker, you said you're going to dive into this a little bit deeper, which I agree, because it is a lot. But that we also hit this on when we're talking about the proficiency and beyond, is that we're really focused on, like, if the kids do not get it, that we're going to have them go and have interventions and get it taught again so that they can get it. We're just not going to say, oh, you got it wrong. You got this information wrong. We're just going to move on. We're not doing that. And so I think that might answer your question too, because I hear what you're saying to make sure that we're supporting those students.
And then just one other thing to add, because I know we have to move on to the next slide, which kind of goes back to what Ms. Keenan was asking about, because I think we probably do need to add something in here in reference to our gifted learners. But when they plan collaboratively every week, they're always looking at all students, looking at students who are really mastering the content, students who aren't mastering, and they're really planning for all students in the class. If it's students who are gifted and they are really mastering that content, they're constantly looking for ways to differentiate that content so that they continue to increase the rigor for those students. But just know that they are having those discussions weekly in those collaborative team meetings.
I'll just say a final comment. I think that's definitely the goal. And I know that I think that's the goal for teachers. But I think in reality, if you have students who are struggling and students who are gifted, you have to devote more resources to the students who are struggling. I would like to see something in here, maybe enhancing or increasing differentiation, making sure that that's a priority. Because I've asked several, gifted kids if they receive different lessons or whatever in their non-gifted classes, and universally they say no. We do the same thing. So I just think it would be good. There's a lot of great focus here, but I would like to see something about focusing on the differentiation or focusing on the gifted education as well. I think that does deserve a bullet point.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Keenan. Okay, so this is mine. Okay, so equipping and empowering leaders and staff. So this is a talent management. So build teacher capacity and leadership opportunities across the David T. Howard professional learning community to meet the diverse social and academic needs of students, and then recommend for hire high quality staff for vacant positions. And so let's go over the strategies, and I'll talk a little bit about talent management, or equipping and empowering leaders and staff. So strengthen teacher skills through regular coaching and feedback for optimal teacher leadership in departments, PLC guided coalition, collaborative team facilitation, grade level meetings, MTSS implementation, and expanded leadership decisions. And so where I think that we can always get better from my beginning until now is to really, this is me being the principal, and then as our admin team, is really to make sure that we have a collaborative model, that we collaborate with the staff. And we think that that's going to create leaders. And so our PLC guided coalition has been powerful, and it's been teacher led. Our collaborative team facilitation that we've had these facilitators that are leading these meetings. We've had grade level meetings, and along with that, like Coach Abernathy is the connections lead, and that they have taken over our grade level meetings, and that they run those meetings for the most part. The MTSS implementation has been, whether it's with our 504 or with our counselors through the MTSS process, that they're leading that. Our expanded leadership decisions that we've had, that we actually talked to Ms. Lanza because we had to do the benchmarks, which I might talk about at the end. The APS wanted us to do that, and we had to do that rather quickly. And so speaking to the expanded leadership team first, getting that information out, I think it was less of a, it was still a shock, but less of a shock because that we're trying to create these teacher leaders. Also, recruiting candidates through a rigorous process in which teacher leaders review, interview, and recommend to administration for further hiring process. We just did that this year. We're going to continue with that. I think we had some of our best teachers this year because our teachers did the first part of the process. And again, Miss Baker, some of the teachers who are here, they've done this, whether they're looking at resumes or they are, these candidates have to create a lesson, and they have to video a lesson, and then teachers grade that. So before they get to administrators, that they have to go through a kind of first interview, but then also teachers are looking, because looking at their resume and looking at their information, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to have to collaborate with those teachers. And so that's process I think has worked out, and we're going to continue with that. So that's kind of the talent development part. Are there any questions about talent development or equipping and empowering leaders and staff? And so we are creating systems of supports. I think that's Miss Beatles.
Yeah, so I have the next one. So at Howard, we're going to build equitable systems to address and promote social and academic growth within the school. And we're going to do that by modeling the social and academic behaviors through school-wide reads, SEL, PBIS, restorative practice, MTSS, and grade level leadership teams. We also plan operational practices and policies for the David T. Howard building, and we'll do this by conducting routine meetings with logistics committee to review and implement operational processes to establish the smooth transitions at David T. Howard Middle School, and even those transitions for the upcoming face-to-face through this pandemic.
And Ms. Beatles is working on that right now, actually, to make sure that the logistics and the safety is there as we start back on February the 1st. And this is the one strategy about conducting routine meetings in the logistics committee. We kept that on there because we haven't done that yet with this new building, and with us going virtually. So that might change. That's where we might tweak from an operations standpoint for the next school year. And if there are any questions, then Dr. Harper will talk about culture.
Yes, I have the next two slides. Good evening. So at David T. Howard, we are building a culture of student support. And in such, our priority is to develop a safe, positive, informed, and engaged school culture of family support. And our strategies for such is to create a positive behavior intervention and support our PBIS school, where students and staff understand academic and behavioral expectations. Also to create an advisory period to address SEL needs specific to the middle school and to streamline parent communication so that all parents are informed.
And so any questions about that? I know that was a topic that came up about parent communication. And so remember, just because we have this strategy doesn't mean we're doing it like at an A+. And so that's what we want to strive for. And so, so that's when I felt like, we've heard from different groups and parents. And so definitely why we put that last bulleted point. Any questions? Yeah.
I have a couple questions and feedback. So before we also had a bullet for the school priorities of informing and engaging the school community. I think that warrants keeping that, and I think that's helpful. Two things that I would like to see under this is for our staff and admin to think about a way we can fold it in to have more culturally competent staff and understanding the needs of all the different types of students in our student body and more understanding of the special needs population.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Walker.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Then I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will go back to the agenda. And so the next part, and I think these are the two longest parts. And so thank you. We got through the phase 2 and the strategic plan. Thank you for the feedback. And we'll take that back to our leadership team. And so the targeted intervention plan that we have done, we just want to address that. I think it's going well in a couple different fronts. But Ms. Allen, could you talk a little bit about the virtual TIP program?
Yes. So we have been this is our third week. We're going to be doing 4 to 6 p.m. working with students on Zoom. And we really do feel like it is a targeted intervention in such that these students come, there are 4 teachers there, and it's kind of like a personal tutor. The students come in and they say, I'm here to work on a certain assignment. And that teacher will kind of walk them through completing that assignment. Sometimes the student may not even know where to start. And many of the teachers who come into that TIP program, they kind of are scouting. They're looking for those kids. They're like, oh, I've been waiting to see you. Oh, I've been wanting to get some one-on-one time to really help you. And so sometimes they know that the kids don't even know where to start. And they're like, all right, let's go in Infinite Campus. Let's look at your grade book. All right. And they're helping them check off things. So those have been some of the things that have been happening. And teachers have, the teachers who are not working it, they're like, oh, it makes a difference because my students are actually turning in an assignment. So that's just some of the things that we have had happening. We didn't want to overwhelm the system because to do that work, right? If you have a student who says, I've attended class 50% of the time, I don't even know where to start, right? The reality is that you just can't take 50 kids working with 4 teachers because now you get overwhelmed like you're in a classroom again. And so it is a small number. We have invited about 25, and sometimes you get about 15, 17 who are showing up at a session at a time. And they don't have to stay the entire 2 hours. They might come they may come in the beginning and then leave a little earlier. They might come at 4:45 or something like that. So that they can get their help or whatnot. But it just works perfectly. And so that's what we've been doing with the TIP After School program.
And what I will say, and there was a CNN, there's actually a CNN article about this, about doing something like this, is that, and I think it was out in New York, but like some kids and families, we've seen this for us at David T. Howard, is that parents are home from 4 to 6 and they're not home in the morning. And so they're more likely to be able to supervise the students. The students work better after school than early in the morning. And so it wasn't a connectivity issue, but it was just a good time for them. And I think what we're going to share with the district is, and they might already know this, is that, you know, when we have this recovery program in the spring and the summer, that we need to look at 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., you know, for these kids and families, to get them what they need to be ready for next fall. So it's worked, but it was ironic that I saw an article on CNN that basically said that some New York schools were doing this on a larger scale in the evening. And so, Ms. Beatles, you want to talk a little bit about the face-to-face?
So we have a TIP program that we work with kids who have had connections issues that were failing 3 or more classes. They come into the building. We take temperatures of every child as they come into the building. And then they're assigned to a classroom that they go to each day, and a specific desk that they go to each day, to make sure that we keep the staff as well as the students safe. They come in and we give them breakfast and lunch, and they spend their time on the computers doing their work, but it gives them an opportunity to have someone that supervises them in the class, as well as they talk to their regular teachers in the classroom on their computer. But if they fall asleep, or if they kind of start to daze off, we can kind of come in and say, hey, you know, stay on track, or any assignments that they've missed, they get to make up, and we have them to pull up their Infinite Campus as well, determine how many assignments they're missing, and we can kind of stay on top of those kids. And those kids have been successful in turning in their work, and we've seen a slight improvement with the children turning in their work and having that person on the inside the building that can kind of nudge you to keep going. But the kids do ride the bus to school. They have to wear masks all day, every day. So we do go through the safety precautions, but we do get them in the building to try to get them acclimated to school as it was.
Thanks, Ms. Beatles. They do eat breakfast and lunch. We do provide that for them. And it has been successful, and we wish we could at least do it at least one more day, but 2 days is better than 0 days with those students, because those are many of our students who have connectivity issues. Any questions about the targeted intervention plan? Ms. Beatles, since you did speak about the TIP program, and I know your budget, I know it's just going to be just a minute here. Any updates on the budget?
So one thing that parents will be happy to know is that we have received masks for all students coming into the building, as well as teachers. And we've used our budget to purchase some additional PPE for our teachers to keep them safe in the building. So all teachers will have a plexiglass around their desk to keep them safe, in addition to the mask and the face guard. And they also have cleaning supplies in every room. They also have hand sanitizers in every room on the walls for the kids, teachers, anybody in the room to use. So we've been using our funds to make sure our kids are safe coming into the building.
And Ms. Beatles, our budget is in pretty good shape, that we're going to be able to buy some PPE or buy some different things if needed
Yes.
next semester? Okay.
We have those. And we've been kind of looking at maybe what some of the kids are needing as well. So for kids who may not have headphones, because that's going to be a big thing when we go back into the building, we do have headphones for kids as well. So, you know, as we see things that kids need, we go ahead and purchase it for all of them.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Beatles. And so now it's Family Engagement Leadership Team and an update from Ms. Keenan and Ms. Antone.
Yes, hi. I can go ahead and start, Ms. Antone, if you'd like. Really over the last month, Ms. Antone and I have been working with the Office of Family Engagement for APS about the Family Engagement Leadership Team, which is known as FELT. And FELT is different from the Family and Engagement Committee subcommittee that was part of the GO team. And the Office of Family Engagement has suggested that we really combine the efforts of those two and transition our family engagement activities to FELT. FELT is not part of the GO team, but members of the GO team will be members of FELT. So Ms. Antone and I had an overview call with the main APS organizer for FELT, and she helped give us some good ideas to form our FELT for Howard and how to get it up and running. You know, because we are a new school and because we are in this virtual environment, we really view this year as being a building block, setting the building blocks for the FELT, and then really being able to focus, implement what we build this year when we go back to school next year. So the recommendation for FELT was that we have a member of the APS administration, and that is Ms. Antone, that we have at least one GO team member, that we have a PTO member, we have a foundation member, and we have a staff member. In particular, they recommended it would be very good to have a counselor. And then we could have parent volunteers as well. Because FELT is not part of the GO team and is not a GO team committee, it is not subject to the open records and open meetings requirements that govern the GO team. So this will really be a school-based, parent-based, community-based leadership team that will help implement our engagement activities. And the way I described it when Ms. Antone and I had our meeting is that the PTO really directs our engagement, but I almost view them as the publisher. They get the message out, and this FELT team will help identify what the messages should be, how we need to engage the community, and then also look for ways to supplement the publishing role that the PTO plays. So that's really kind of our thought, the information that we got. I'm sorry, my doggy is here, as you can see. That's the information that Ms. Antone and I received during our call. And and then one other point, we received the contact information for 2 chairs of FELT teams at other schools in APS, because we thought it would be very helpful to talk to them about their best practices, how they, got their school-based FELT team up and running, and best practices that we can use as we are building our FELT.
Yeah. Jennifer, can you talk a little bit about I know you're new with this as well, but or whoever has knowledge about it, what the FELT team was before and kind of what it consisted of. And of course, you already talked about what it is going forward, or what the idea is going forward. But can you just talk a little bit about that, kind of who was a part of that team and information and such?
My understanding is that it's new, and that I think it was started last year. It was a new program that APS rolled out last year, and they saw that there was overlap between FELT and the Family and Community Engagement Subcommittee of Go Team, and they recommend merging it. It's also my understanding that the FELT team really didn't get up and running last year. I think, with our last year in the Inman School, the transition to Howard, and then the pandemic in March, we didn't get our FELT team up and running. So that's why this year would be building our FELT. But I might be mistaken.
No, that totally makes sense, because I didn't really hear much about it, and you explaining it really helps. I think my only reservation is that it's not open. It's not subject to those open meeting requests. And I think for me, one of my concerns that has been at the school is parent engagement. Of course, we have parents that are already engaged that are going to continue to be engaged. But what about those parents who really want to be engaged, but they really have no insight or a way to really get into that engagement? So that will continue to be a problem for me. And so that's why I kind of have challenges with this. Like, how do we bring that greater community into our fold? Because there are things and gaps there that I've heard, that I know other families and parents have heard. And a lot of families don't feel heard and listened to. So how can we, my thinking is just, how can we create that space for them so that we can fold them in?
Yeah, and I think that's good to hear, Ms. Walker. I think with the individuals that this committee will be comprised of, having a counselor, having a teacher leader, having parent, and just several committees we're trying to merge and making sure that everybody's working together. I think we'll definitely be able to focus on that. And that was one of the things I know Ms. Keenan, even she mentioned, in terms of just making sure we're able to get all families, represented, in terms of trying to pull everyone in. And so that'll definitely be one part of our goal. So that won't go, we hear you.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting for this committee. Again, I think a person to help with this is Susanna Roberts, who's on the PTO, who's a Morningside parent, but is a Hope Hill parent liaison. And if there's anyone other than Maureen Wheeler who is an advocate for our Hope Hill students, it would be Susanna Roberts. She single-handedly was able to, supported us in getting these rising sixth graders that were Hope Hill students to make sure that they were registered for the first day of school. So I just think it could be an excellent committee to solve the problem that Ms. Walker has talked about. And so I'm excited for what's going to come to fruition with this committee. So Coach, so now it's just information items. I mean, for me, the principal's report, we talked about phase 2, the strategic plan, the tip, which I know were discussion items. I want to make sure that the Go team was involved with any questions. For me, it's the benchmark assessments. I mean, which probably when we met as a chair and co-chair that I didn't even know about, but just wanted to go over that we are having these benchmarks today and tomorrow. So today we had social studies and math, and we'll finish that up. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, we have ELA and science. And so just to reiterate, I know this is getting recorded in the Go team. This is not going to be a grade in the grade book, but just gives us an opportunity to see where kids are. Some of the information that's on there, and some of the parents that are here if they ask their child, may not have gone over some of those standards, but just kind of where we are. We are going to have another benchmark assessment that this will be required in February, that the staff, the teachers will know about ahead of time. We did spring this on them because the district at first said it was, in October, that it was not required, but then said it needed to be required and I understand. I think where they're coming from is that we have to find out, we as an APS has to find out where kids are. So not only now, but then in February, so that they can work on this recovery program in the spring and summer. Now, we spoke to them about the common formative assessments because we do that within every 6 weeks, but I think we as the APS wanted more a cohesive way so they could look at all the middle schools or all the elementaries. And so that's why we had to pivot and do that. And just so appreciate our teachers, our parents, our kids to understand that and to really just pull up our sleeves and get this done. And that's where you see that there is a Friday asynchronous day at the very end, because it's a good time for those kids to make up any work that they need to, because January 6th is the end date to make up work for the end of the semester. But just to let you know a little bit, especially with math and ELA, is that those are two subjects with the benchmarks that they have to grade the constructive responses, and it needs to be done by December 18th. The window closes that Friday, and so there's a need for those teachers to work on the grading of those constructive responses. And so anyway, that's a principal's report, or that's some information that I didn't even have a week ago. The only other thing that I would want to bring up to the GO team would be the dance studio. Good news about that is that the dance studio now has a dance floor, which is good. It was a classroom floor, so it's a dance floor, and Mr. Baker is really happy about that. We did put mirrors in there last Friday and a bar, or a long bar, and so it looks like a dance studio. And so we're excited about that. And so whenever we come back, and, in February 1st, connections might be, utilizing that space, or Mr. Baker, and that we can actually have a dance studio where kids will be able to perform, if not in February, for the next fall. And so that was good news. We're getting a lab. Miss Cannon has a lab, and that lab is not constructed, and that lab should be done, if not this week, by the 1st of January. And so everything's coming together to make sure that all the kind of fine tuning of the building. And so that's good to see. So that's all my information that I have. I see that Howard, the traffic safety update, and I know we had that last time. I don't know if Ms. Keenan has any more updates on that.
I do have one good bit of news. The flashing crosswalk sign that's going to be put in at Magruder and Randolph for kids who are entering the school through the line has been received by the Department of Transportation, and they fully expect to have that installed by the middle of January.
Oh, that's great. That is great
There
news.
are also the other items that are listed on the spreadsheet that's on the GO team site, the other improvements that the Department of Transportation plan to make. They are continuing to make progress on that. Also there is a video that's posted on the Howard website that APS produced about transportation options for Howard. And it has great information on the best way to get there if you're walking, if you're riding your bike, or if a student is being dropped off by a parent. It has the suggested routes and how to get in and out of the school safely. So I recommend people look at that. But we are on track to have all of the traffic safety improvements. The city is on track to have those completed before the end of January.
That's awesome. And I was going to send out that video for traffic, but I think they told me there were some misspellings in it, and I don't know exactly what. So they're fixing that, and they're bringing it up. Miss Keaton, you probably were the one that told them, right? Yes. Okay.
My name was misspelled, but I didn't tell him.
Well, but I think there were a couple other. I don't. So I think they're fixing that, and they're bringing out a new version. So. And then once we have that, I'll give that to the PTO. And the other bit of news, just to let you know, because I just got a text, is that we are officially the Midtown cluster So that was voted on, that it was Midtown High School. And so, I mean, again, FYI, whether you picked that or you wanted that or not, that we would not, now we will not be called the Grady cluster, but we will be called the Midtown cluster. And so that's a bit of news that just found out. And that's, oh, public comments. Are there any public comments, Ms. Poe?
No, there were not any public comments as of 4 o'clock.
Gotcha, gotcha. So did anybody else have any other announcements?
I have one final thing. I just wanted to extend a huge thank you to Miss Allen for the work that she did on the science fair. I was a judge last week and I was completely exhausted after my 4.5-hour tenure as a judge. And Miss Allen was just absolutely incredible. She juggled 100 kids participating in the science fair, about 15 clueless judges who didn't even know how to use Zoom. And what's a breakout room, Miss Allen? Teach me everything about Zoom in a minute. And I mean, she was just phenomenal. Not only did she keep things running smoothly and efficiently, but she had good humor the entire time, where I would have just pulled my hair out. So thank you, Miss Allen. You were just a champion on Science Fair Day. So thank you so much for all your work that you did.
You're welcome. And just thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And I just want to say, Miss Keenan, I was on there for 5 minutes and I really thanked that. I just thanked myself. I said, gosh, thank you, Miss Allen, because I couldn't have done it. I was like, I'm so glad she's working on this. And then I went to something else. So yes, that's definitely, thank you, Miss Allen.
I actually want to make an announcement and give kudos to, he's new to our hired environment, but Mr. Smith, he has been very diligent and he has made house calls and phone calls and trying to keep kids motivated and interested in school and make sure they stay on task and things like that. So I definitely think he is doing the best he can and he's doing a great job.
Thank you, thank you, Ms. Walker. And I will say, to kind of bring us around to when I talked about talent management and how we are, doing that first part and getting all of the, the teachers coming in the first interview. I mean, that was part of it. Is Mr. Smith, like if we went into that, we might've said, oh, I think we're going to pick this person for this job. But Mr. Smith, because of, I think, that rigorous work that he had to do before, we're like, oh, this is the person for the job. And so that's one of the reasons why we stayed with this, is getting quality people like Mr. Smith. So thank you for bringing that up, Ms. Walker.
And Ms. Walker, I wanted you to know that in that rigorous process that we go through, we look at how they engage with all kids, the special ed kids as well as gifted and regular kids. And that's how we found out if they can build those relationships. Because if they can't, then no, they can't be a part of our family. And no, they can't be in that Howard family and do it our Howard way. So I wanted you to know we do look at that. That's a big part of it. And even how they respond to parent emails, because we do have a part where we give them a parent email, an actual email, and they have to respond. So if they cannot do what we know Howard families are looking for, then they can't be part of our Howard family.
I absolutely think that's a great step in the right direction with all the dynamics that with the kids and kind of what teachers and staff have to deal with.
All right.
Thank you. Any other announcements before we adjourn? So our next meeting is scheduled for January the 11th at 4:30 p.m. via Zoom. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mrs. Baker makes a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Tanisha Poe seconds.
Motion by Ms. Baker, second by Ms. Poe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye. Oh wait, not I, but you know what I'm saying.
We got you, Schultz.
My bad.
All right. All right, we are adjourned. Time is 5:51.